for me, when I look at it in that perspective, I'm like, my husband gave his life. I know so many other women whose husbands gave their lives, kids who were raised without their dads or their moms, so that we have this right to speak. And here we are not using it. So for me, plus the whole like losing friends and relationships, I'm the girl who couldn't get a prom date, who had no friends, who was like, people just either glossed over me or bullied the crap out of me. So I'm used to having no friends. Like I've been there before. I made it through that, so I wasn't sweating that because I know who my friends are and I'm confident in that. So I feel like once you've been through certain things, it makes knowing that you can do it. It's like people who have made millions and millions of dollars and lost it all. They're like, well, I'll just rebuild it, but somebody who's never made that million is like, whoa, how do I get to that million? So it's like, once you've walked through certain fires and come out the other side and learned things and grown from it, you're like, well, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'll just do it again.
So true. And it's the truth of like what you're sharing, which is so powerful, is like, there does come a point where, I call it living creature on a floating rock and a who do you want to be moment. And what we're talking about is you're not, and I'm not, we're not standing up for Friday night, we got to go eat Thai food. If you're not eating Thai food, I want you out of my life. Like, it's not some silly trite thing. These things that people, and so many people around the world, are willing to risk everything for. And that's what I try to hopefully share to some people is like, do you really think that every single trucker in Canada who's a part of this is risking their livelihoods because they're racist? Because they don't like other people? Or do you think that maybe they realize the magnitude of what this is in their country for themselves and their children in the future, and so they're willing to risk everything for it? I just think that the level of, which kind of goes to what's going on now in the world too, but this term propaganda, but it's just like, it's advertising. That's what it is. It's advertising. And it's just at such a high volume and rate that it's very difficult to think for yourself right now.
Hey, it's a great day to flex your freedom. I'm your co-host, Barb Allen. Today, I am here with speaker, coach, TV host, and American Ninja Warrior, Alex Weber. We met Alex. Alex, I met you a bunch of years ago when we both spoke at a TEDx event. And I knew you were pretty cool then. We got you on our American Snippets show. And now, as the years have progressed and the universe has shifted, all of a sudden the moons and stars aligned and pointed me right back to you. And I said, we need Alex back on our show. We have now started the whole Flex Your Freedom shift in our path from American Snippets. And Alex, it seemed to kind of coincide to right about the same time that you began using your platform, which, by the way, is super entertaining and inspirational and everything you intended it to be. And now you've somehow married into all of that your stance for freedom and stepping forward and using that platform for the greater good without being like obnoxious or in your face or too far one way or another. Don't mind me as I'm just using my screen to hit this thing popping up. I don't know. I hate computers. So Alex, I'm super excited to have you here with us today.
Awesome. I'm truly so happy to be here and felt the same way when we met at the TEDx way back when, and been such a fan of what you all are doing and being a guest then and now with Flex Your Freedom. I'm aligned in the work you're doing. So grateful to be here.
Yeah. And I should mention too, that the whole Flex Your Freedom thing and the way that you and are aligned with us, it's not necessarily all about freedoms and politics and all this in terms of government and laws and bureaucracies. There's a certain freedom that we always want to flex in our own lives to do what it is we want to do, whatever it is that fulfills us. And that's something that you've been stepping up for and standing out upon on your own 2 feet for since we've known you and before then, which is part of your appeal to so many people and why we wanted it. So let's get into a little bit of that first, because it is really hard, even in quote normal times, right? In good times and easy times before all these fans started getting hit with all this shit in our lives, right? But it's even hard then to kind of have the know-how or courage or guts to say, you know what? I'm not really happy in this life I'm living now. I'm going to take this step out and I'm going to go here because I think I'd be happier over here. And you are someone who just did that. And like, I mean, you were all in. You just sent it, man. You just sent it.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, there's been a few moments in my life of, I use this term brave honesty. It's in the book I wrote. It was one that I, shaped my life, because I think that life is so busy and noisy and hectic and pressure filled that we very rarely give ourselves the opportunity to look at some tough questions and then actually answer them with brave honesty, because either, we got obligations or there's a distraction, or we frankly just don't want to look at that dark corner or tough thing. So that's happened a few times in my life. And then it's like, well, after you do have that moment of brave honesty, things are very clear. We cloud things because we got fears around them or people are pursuing interests, but life is very clear when you really get down to like, what matters to you? What do you want? And then at those moments, you said, I sent it or I went all out. Then it's like, okay, once you have that clarity, it's just time to go. It's just time to go. And, speaking more specifically, so that was something that shaped my life, whether it was leaving finance after I played Division I lacrosse in the Ivy League. I left finance to pursue entertainment and did that. And then I ended up coaching and winning US Lacrosse Coach of the Year and felt like I wanted to go into TV hosting. And then I got hired by NBC American Ninja Warrior and I won an award doing that. And then I felt like very drawn to doing speaking. And that was another moment of brave honesty, which led to the TEDx talks where you and I met. But I say all that to say, like, I really loved who I was and what I was doing early March 2020. And then I really grieved and was pretty depressed for most of 2020, even if there was some type A successes going on. Me as a human being, I was not good. Now that led to good things. I started a men's community, which I'll share about, which has been awesome. I did have a book come out, competed on American Ninja Warrior. Great. But then I started to realize in 2021 and had a pretty, however this lands with people, spiritual moment of like, you got to enter this. You got to enter this. Whatever we call this debate, this fight, whatever it is, you've got tools and stop sitting on the sideline. And just to bring this, point home, Barb, and then I'll toss it back, was from that truth of me realizing that was about 4 more months where I was still scared to speak what I knew and saw was true, because I was scared of what judgments would happen in my personal life and professionally. And then I had another moment where I was like, you know what? I say this expression, you go to bed with your soul. And there was a few nights where, knowing that I should be speaking and not, that was a rougher pain than anything this external world can do. So I just started and went all out, and 2 things have happened. One is that I have lost friends. I have lost colleagues. I have lost even people in my family have distanced, but I've also realized that if it's connected with so many more people. And I've also realized the truth that if people can't disagree with you and still love you, if people can't say, I had a buddy the other day, he goes, I think you're crazy, man, but I love you. Let's grab dinner. That's a friend. But if you have people who can't disagree and think you're crazy about something and still love you, get dinner, have a phone call, you know what? Take care. Take care. Life's too short.
Yeah, I agree 100,000% with everything you just said. We've been getting messages from people for a couple of years now. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for speaking up, because I could never do it. I don't want to lose clients. I'll never work again. I'll lose this relationship. And I say this a lot, and I'll say it again here. And I kind of struggle to find a balance in responding to those people, right? Because on the one hand, like my husband gave his life so that we can speak freely. And so for me, when I look at it in that perspective, I'm like, my husband gave his life. I know so many other women whose husbands gave their lives, kids who were raised without their dads, or their moms, so that we have this right to speak. And here we are not using it. So for me, plus the whole like losing friends and relationships, I'm the girl who couldn't get a prom date, who had no friends, who was like, people just either glossed over me or bullied the crap out of me. So I'm used to having no friends. Like I've been there before. I made it through that, so I wasn't sweating that because I know who my friends are and I'm confident in that. So I feel like once you've been through certain things, it makes knowing that you can do it. It's like people who have made millions and millions of dollars and lost it all. They're like, well, I'll just rebuild it, but somebody who's never made that million is like, whoa, how do I get to that million? So it's like, once you've walked through certain fires and come out the other side and learned things and grown from it, you're like, well, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'll just do it again.
So true. And it's the truth of like what you're sharing, which is so powerful, is like, there does come a point where, I call it living creature on a floating rock and a who do you want to be moment. And what we're talking about is you're not, and I'm not, we're not standing up for Friday night, we got to go eat Thai food. If you're not eating Thai food, I want you out of my life. Like, it's not some silly trite thing. These things that people, and so many people around the world, are willing to risk everything for. And that's what I try to hopefully share to some people is like, do you really think that every single trucker in Canada who's a part of this is risking their livelihoods because they're racist? Because they don't like other people? Or do you think that maybe they realize the magnitude of what this is in their country for themselves and their children in the future, and so they're willing to risk everything for it? I just think that the level of, which kind of goes to what's going on now in the world too, but this term propaganda, but it's just like, it's advertising. That's what it is. It's advertising. And it's just at such a high volume and rate that it's very difficult to think for yourself right now.
Yeah. And when you do think for yourself, you're immediately put down. So if you're the kind of person that has some self-doubt or is lacking some clarity, or maybe just kind of speaking up for the first time and somebody slams you down, well, you're just going to go right back to where you came from. Right. So the people who are attempting to find their voice are put down so cruelly and so harshly that it's really hard to have the kind of inner fortitude to withstand that and come back out. And then you have the other people who are saying, well, what's the point? We can sit around and talk about it all day. What's the point? Why should I speak up if I'm going to get canceled? Because then what good am I doing if I'm getting canceled? And then I come across people, I was popping through your Instagram feed earlier on, and I'm like, oh, that guy, Dr. Bradley Campbell, looks cool. Let me go check him out. And boop, he's gone. He's not there. He's no longer like his account. I mean, so
yeah,
what do you do? Right. I guess they have a point, right? Like, it's a fine line to walk between.
It totally is.
Between that. And when the people who are anti-American run these platforms that we're using right now and that we'll be posting on a lot of, what do you do? So I think we're all sort of navigating this funky world that who would have ever believed would happen in America. But I'm sure Canada didn't think that would happen. I'm sure Australia didn't think that would happen. And all these other countries that are going through what they're going through. So we're glad to have you out here, Alex.
Thanks. Likewise, I'm glad to be with you. I'm glad for the work that you all do.
Yeah. It's good. So let's talk a little bit about some of the messages that you have. And I want to get back into that. I was joking with you a little bit right before we started recording about one of the posts you have about being the people pleaser. And I don't know how long it takes you to do that, or if you send that video out and have somebody else do that. But I was like, my eyes were like twitching, imagining trying to figure out the splicing, all of that myself. I'm like, oh no.
I do them myself, and I'm not going to lie, those do take a moment, especially when there's multiple
oh my goodness,
let's call it. Yeah.
Wow, that's some commitment. But they have, let's just exponentially more views than my TEDx talk ever got. So each of your posts do.
Well, I think it's like,
so
I'm definitely like, I'm proud of them. And I do think that like they had the, these are like humble brags, but like I did work hard on them, and I do think they're funny, and I do think they're smart and goofy and silly and stupid. But I also think, because I've done other videos that I thought, checked a lot of boxes, and they didn't hit. And I think what really is shown in that, in the view count that you're mentioning and people sharing it, is the resonance of how many people feel this way that we all feel. And that is what's most powerful right now. And, I feel like it's like a really interesting point where the limelight of COVID, and this is really important. COVID is an illness, is a virus. That is one thing, and that should be tackled by trained professionals, and ideally the best and the brightest, without a team or a financial backer, and we just have best hands on deck helping people. Then there is the whole situation and industry and nonsense that has happened around a virus. And that is where I have that's really the only place I have the issue with, is that. And it seems like the limelight of that has subsided, even though there's still some shady things going on. And, this lens of, well, two things, I guess. One is this word conspiracy theorist. It's a baffling time where, I think there's like a meme of conspiracy theory is truth minus 6 months. It's basically like, it's truth, but then it gets repressed and shamed. And then 6 months later, it's become a provable truth for the masses. And really where I'm at with this is because someone's like, oh, so you're political now. When I decided to get into this, I think politics are nonsense. I think it is people talking who are detached, and I'm generalizing, of course, but for the most part, it is two people who are basically 80% the same, arguing over nuance so that one of the best rivalry can win. Either blue's going to win this year, 4 years later, red wins. Then it's the donkeys, then it's the elephants, then it's the same nonsense. And we're a divided country, 51-49. That's nonsense. So I really don't have as strong of an interest in the political game. What I will die is for people living life freely on this planet. That I'm all in on. And that basically came to a head with the political measures that were being taken place with COVID.
Yeah. And especially for people like me and Dave who live in states like New York, it's been extra brutal, to have to go through. New York is a state that's a beautiful state. It's got a lot of really amazing people here, but we are historically, struggling already. We're already overtaxed. We're already over-regulated on everything from, you want to put a new step on the outside of your house. You have to go through 50 different departments and pay all these fees and all these, so everything we do is like regulated. Freedom is sort of like already a little bit of an illusion in a lot of ways here in New York. And hopefully that'll change one day here soon. But then to add all of these other things on top of it, all of these other things, the schools here are just tomorrow. Tomorrow, they're finally lifting the mask mandates. And that just came out after all of this time. So we have all these kids who've been going through this for 2 years in school and lifting the mask mandates. So it's nice to get some sort of sense of normalcy, but all of us kind of are driving around like on that early spring day where it looks sunny and you want to crack the window, but you're afraid the sun is a lie and it's really freezing out, right? So, so we kind of sort of,
so well put.
Live like that a little bit. And so I hear you, the frustration is growing and mounting. And to your point, the views you're getting, you have to know that the shift in your content. And again, you're not coming out there, you're not bashing, you're not like calling names, you're not denouncing people, you're not doing any of those horrible things that people on both sides have done, right? You're not out there like just slamming people. You're out there just kind of pointing out it's funny because it's not funny part of it all, which is something that resonates. So you have to know that you're already getting filtered a little bit. You're already getting squashed and you're still getting those views, which tells you even more.
Oh, thank you for that.
When you're going out and you're doing the content that we do, to get 10 views or something is a struggle if you're coming up with no platform, right? But when you're starting that with a platform and then speaking that, you're going to get shadowed, you're going to get squished. And so everyone that's coming to you and seeing your stuff and wanting to see your stuff is because they really want to see it, so you're connecting a little bit, that much harder with them.
Thank you for that. I'm basically kind of, navigating what this next chapter will be. I feel very drawn to keep speaking on these. I mean, COVID is definitely the one that fires me up the most. And again, not COVID, but the BS around it, because of how much it hurts people. It hurts people's small businesses. It hurts children. Like, these kids have been in a mask. I saw Bill Gates give a quote, which he basically was mocking. He basically was mocking citizens. And this is recent. This is not like April, 1 month in. And what he was saying was like, oh, it's so tough to wear a mask. I mean, I get it. You have to wear pants. And what he's saying is like, this is such a nominal inconvenience. Why not just do it for the greater good of society? Which is a very logical, I can get that. I could get that if it was 1 month in. But 2 years in, where kids especially don't do it like adults, where we go to our office or we go outside and we have autonomy, kids they don't have free will. So if they have to wear it from the moment they get on a bus at, let's say, 7:30, 8 in the morning to the moment they get home at potentially 5 p.m., that's a lot of time for 2 years. And I think just that detachment, as someone who, for better or worse, is on the forefront of this, to be that detached from what a normal citizen has been going through for 2 years, to the point that you mock it, I think is very telling if you want to approach this without a team, but just as an intellectual, empathetic person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Alex, what would you say to people? Let's go at this a couple different prongs. What do you say to people who maybe have a platform, an existing platform already, and are feeling those like, oh, should I, shouldn't I want to get in there, but I don't want to lose followers, but I don't want to lose friends. Like, imagine they're sitting down and talking. Imagine I just came to you, said, Alex, I have 800,000 people following me online, right? I believe in everything you're saying, but I don't want to, I can't lose my followers. I can't lose my clients. So thank you for speaking, because I'm not there yet.
I got a lot of those. And I think there's a lot of ways to be brave. I think that there are some ways. A good friend of mine, when he goes to grocery stores and places, and this is during like the peak of when it was like shaming you, he wouldn't wear one. And when people would come up to him, his name's Michael, a great, great guy. And when people would come up to him and basically try to shame him, he would use it as an opportunity to basically very intellectually share not only why this person was incorrect with their logic, but also how wrong it is for someone to think that they can tell someone else what to do with their autonomy, health, wellness. And so basically that ripple effect of, okay, now there's 20 people in a grocery store looking at this. That's a brave action. That takes a lot of discomfort to do that. So why I say that is you got to find your brave. And I really mean that, though, because brave to me is a dear, dear word that I only feel in these last months that I've stepped into being brave. And what it means to me is you are aware that there may be negative consequences. You are aware that it's not going to be the most comfortable road, but what you are standing for, is so meaningful that you need to stand in it regardless of if there is some negative that comes your way. And there's a lot of ways to do that. What I would really encourage people to do is like, are you being your brave? Meaning, if you had something you wanted to say or share, but then you didn't because of those other fears and concerns, could you be brave in that moment and click post and then put your phone down and go for a walk? If you're at a casual conversation with someone and they say something, I had a business meeting and the person goes, gosh, I can't wait for the unvaccinated to die off. How is that an okay thing to say?
Oh.
How is that an okay thing to say? So recalibrating and saying, I'm not vaccinated is a statement to, there's a lot of different forms of brave. What I will say, though, is what is your intention? Because there's never anything bad by sharing what you believe to be true and letting other people know that they're not alone. That is a beautiful truth. So if that is your intention, amazing. If it's just to share anger, we don't need it. If it's just to be a martyr, which you touched on earlier, if it's just to say like, I'm not going to do this, and then we sacrifice our livelihoods and it blows over in 12 hours and you lost your job, but really no impact, we don't need that either. So what is your intention of doing it? Are you sharing information? Are you sharing a perspective? Are you letting people know they're not alone? We need hands reaching out to welcome in people to the truth that haven't seen it yet. I kind of call it like, jump on in, the water's fine. And we've all been lied to. We've all been dating someone in a serious relationship who's been cheating on us and lying to us. And we're all just realizing that at our own time. So there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no red and blue in this. Just come on over to the side of the truth.
Yeah, that's an important point. I think more people that I'm speaking with are touching on that now too, because in even like a few months ago, there was a lot of, I told you so's. I told you so. I told you so. I think those are 4 of the worst words you could say to someone. Like, I told you so is the immediate, it's the immediate brick wall. Like, why, like to what end? Like, why? Yes. What purpose does that serve? If you want to shut someone down or turn them against you or piss it off, I told you so. The worst 4 words I think you could say to someone in so many situations. So I think getting that message out more so is even great. I saw a story and I haven't vetted this. I don't know if it's true, but this is something that just hit me and I hope it's true because it's so inspiring. And for all of us in that, and maybe you heard it or maybe you didn't, about Ukrainian units such as they are, right? Who captured like 200 Russian soldiers, and those kids, they were like 19 years old, the soldiers, and the Ukrainians let those kids call home and talk to their parents, just like a side of compassion. And this is the enemy sent here to kill us. And there was no, I told you so. I told you. There was like, you came here, you invaded our land. We see you, human being. Would you like to call your mom and tell her that you're okay? Kind of thing, right?
This is where I've risen. This is where I've and I'm so curious your lens on it. I don't trust anything.
Right. I started saying I didn't vet that story. I just like it.
But no, it's one where like I want to believe it. Who wouldn't want to believe that?
Right.
I'm not. It very well may be true. Right. 100%. It also very well may be 100% fabricated, and that is like.
I was wondering if you'd heard it. Yeah.
So it's such a scary time in our, and I think back to like, maybe this has always been going on and we only have the ability now to disprove these lies. And that's quite possible. But I don't know. I posted something yesterday or the other day of like, I'd really love to genuinely just know what's going on and why in Ukraine and Russia. And about, like 90, like a lot of people reached out and were like, my thoughts exactly. And 2 people reached out, and this is just so telling. 2 people reached out who I know in different ways, who basically said, what's there to understand? You mean you're okay with innocent people getting killed? And I was like, it's that view is someone who is so caught up in the emotional stirring of the news that they can't even hear what's actually being said or discussed without just hammering down some headline that they saw on CNN. And I think we can all agree
or
that
Fox, I will say that too, or Fox. Sure. People do the same thing. Yeah.
Sure. They're all doing the game here. I don't know. In Ukraine and Russia, this is one where Alex, deciding, okay, Alex, COVID really hit home to you because of the human rights issues that it hit you, it hit people you love, it hit other people, it hit kids. Was that just your passion point? Or now do you want to step in and talk about other things like Ukraine and Russia? And why I feel like I may end up is because I look around and I'm like, you know what? The only 2 damn people that I trust right now are Russell Brand and Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan, because he brings on guests, and he's just like a good, rational guy who doesn't have an opinion. He's just asking rational questions. And Russell Brand, because he's freaking very, very smart and is looking at a situation that doesn't make sense and wants to address it. And honestly, he's kind of my North Star in all of this is Russell Brand. But that's, I'm just kind of rambling on this, but I'm basically deciding, Alex, do you want to keep making videos and discussing like world events or not? But I look at the Ukraine and Russia and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get why it's happening. I don't get why a lot of bad people who we've known have been bad are like somehow, like George Soros is somehow coming out as a humanitarian when it's like, dude, you've never been that. Why are you being that now? I don't know if there's bioweapons labs in Ukraine and Russia's actually maybe doing a good thing by bombing them. Granted, we don't want any casualties. We don't want any innocent people, but it's like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on?
That's the thing. And I think that's where America has lost its ability to question. I've been questioning narratives this whole time. And on both sides. I know, like, I don't believe a single headline I read. Like that story said, I want to believe it. I haven't vetted it. I haven't dug into it. So there's stories that I look at and I'm like, wow, I would really like to believe that. I'm going to dig into that. Or, wow, I really hope this is not true. I'm going to dig into that and hope that it is not true. And then I figure out as close as I can, because I don't think any of us is ever really going to know exactly what's going on. But like when I see someone post something about a bill being proposed, I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible. So I look up the bill and I read the bill, or as much of the bill as I can, so, and then I'll be able to extract enough from this multi-thousand page bill. I'll get like a couple paragraphs here or there. I'm like, okay, well, this validates that. Cause you look for the keywords that set you off in the first place. And you're like, let me find the topic. And you're like, oh, wow, that is actually true and terrifying. Or no, these people were full of crap and that's not true. But who can really dedicate their time to doing this? Like, we can't all sit down and read. The congressmen don't even read the bills before they vote.
Crazy.
So I think that's it. I think the world in general and America specifically, because that's who we are and where we're addressing, we just want to know the truth, or we just want to stop having all this bullshit spun at us, right? We just want it to stop. Like, people figure this out. And let's move on, because we hired you to do this job. We hired you to read these bills and to do the best thing. Like, why am I reading your bill? Like, you read it. And
you're so right. And it's not one where like, I'm wildly generalizing, because I've met a lot of elected officials. I really have, who are really wonderful people, good-hearted. But I think that's why, at least to me, it's appealing when you see people who are outsiders. If you've run a business, or you've done something in sports, or whatever, you've lived a life and accomplished things, and then you're looking at politics and saying, this isn't adding up, I'm stepping in. I'm more likely to vote for you.
Right.
And someone like Trudeau, who's been gifted a position by a family member and grown up in that system and not really been with citizens, not worked in a small business, not had a family member own one, not gone to public school. Like, I just think it's time for us to be led by people who are of us.
Yes. My favorite candidate to date, I don't know them all, but my favorite one is Ian Smith coming out and running in New Jersey.
I was just thinking of him as well.
Hallelujah, right? Like, that's who the citizen representatives.
I hope he wins.
Back to that.
I hope he wins, and he's not perfect. And I'm sure I don't even know all his policies, and I'm sure
we don't need perfect. We don't need perfect.
But he runs a business. He will, and he's a patriot, and he will hire smart people to, figure things out with him.
Right. And there's no way we're all going to agree with everything ever done. Right. But if someone's leading with a pure heart, pure intentions, it's hard to make things worse than they are. Right. But B, you need someone who, at least has an integrity at the core. Let's talk about something else that sort of touches me on your content and your feeds. And that's your mom. Because, I'm a mom, I got my 4 boys and they're all grown up, and I love seeing how tight you are with her. How is she, by the way? I know you shared that she was diagnosed.
Thank you for saying that. So she's such a champ. It was 2019 when she got diagnosed. It was stage 4 cancer at the time. And, that was rough because the first doctor that she saw basically missed it. And that supports a truth that I think about this world. I've thought this for a long time, is there's no such thing as experts. And we're even saying this in the political end, right? There's no such thing as experts. It doesn't matter your degree, or you either care and are giving your best every moment, or you're not. And, that year plus of her first, go of everything was was really hard and scary. And we had to go to even Mexico to get treatments that the pharmaceuticals banned in America, which kind
You
of
are not
also,
the first person I've heard share that, by the way.
like
Yeah.
all natural, like curcumin, like a freaking root that got banned in America, but farmers, so that also had to do with my particular fire of, okay, why are we blackballing ivermectin and all these other treatments?
Oh, you can't say.
Yeah, I don't want to get your podcast banned, right?
No, that's okay. We're already so far down that road. Go ahead.
I know, schmeiber-schmectin. It's just bananas. It's evil. It's evil is what it is. But so I always say to people, she's on the journey, and what that means to me is like it's very encouraging, and she's such a champ. But she does treatments every single day, and this is what I just believe about everything, whether it's Ninja Warrior or my pursuits or with my mom, is the moment you step off the gas and kind of start to like take it for granted, or jinxing is real. And it's just like, all I know now is that if we love her and support her and she is committed to doing the necessary steps, we get more time. So do we really need to crack this formula any more than that? Let's just stay at it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard battle. I love seeing the adventures you take with her and the climb. And I'm like, man, I saw her like climbing up some mountain with you. My son took me on this mountain in Wyoming. It was like 21,000 feet. We went up, and I was like gasping and literally like crawling up to the top at the end because the altitude, I was like, it was like pathetic. And then I see your mom, who's going through cancer, like trucking up this mountain.
She was determined. I was honestly in awe. Because that mountain we went on, I basically was like, hey, we went to this National Park Acadia, quick little story, National Park Acadia, and there was kind of like a bunny hill mountain. And I was like, why don't we do this? Like, we'll have done it. We'll go on a mountain. It'll be fun. And she was like, no, we're doing this one called the Beehive. And I like watched some videos and I was like, this is pretty dang intense. Like there was like 20-year-old like backpackers who were like, yeah, we're going to turn back. Like, we're not going to finish it. But like, I saw it in her that she needed to do this. Like, and I get it. Like she was in a chemo bed and she was like, I need to do this and share this together. And I'm so proud of her. And like she was a little billy goat hopping up there. It was great.
That's fun. And those are memories that just last, right?
Yeah.
They're just not going to go away. And that, I think, is what life kind of spirals down to, is just finding those memories. When you whittle away everything else, that's all any of us really wants. We just want those moments.
So true.
Whatever that looks like for us. All right, Alex, let's talk about your men's community you mentioned, because I have not followed up on that. So let's talk about it. What you got going on?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'll give the background and then what we're up to now. So when 2020 happened, so early March 2020, I was literally speaking to the young government of Mexico, traveling everywhere speaking, getting ready to compete on American Ninja Warrior with my mom as my guest of honor. And then in 3 days, the competition got canceled. All my speaking engagements, which is like really my purpose, got wiped, and I broke my hand. So Ninja Warrior was gone, and I went through a breakup too. And it was just, that was one where I was like, put it on my tab.
Like a dumpster fire in your life.
And it was one where I really own this. I let my hands off the wheel, and I was just like, I'm done. Like I was on this planet, but I was pretty checked out. And after that, and so that's a depressed state went on for quite a while until I was like, okay, I gotta get out of this. And really I started reflecting of like, when were some of my best chapters of life? And I had realized, and I said it of like, I feel like an athlete without a team. Like I missed having a good group of guy friends that I could really talk about things with and be challenged and have that. And it came to a head. At the end of 2020, I was like, something's got to change here. I drove out to the desert because, I got to make everything dramatic. And I was like, I stayed up one night and I was just I made a campfire and I just made a list. I was like, okay, I want to be a better man. So who are men that I admire? And I go, okay, men I admire. And I made a list of men. And I was like, oh, that's it. I want to be on this list. And I invited 15 guys that I also felt were committed to wanting to be men we admire. And that's what the group is called. It's called Men We Admire. We're over a year in. We meet every week virtually. We do retreats where we go on adventure retreats and really get back to like some primal being a man and loving on each other and climbing up mountains and joking around and having fun. And I've even spoken with talks for Men We Admire to high school men and college fraternity and athletes. And now, like literally as we're talking in these next weeks, I'm opening it up to have it be for men in the world who want this. I haven't had the bandwidth to do it. Now I've realized how important it is in the world that we have more strong, good-hearted men. So if any of your listeners, if that resonates, reach out because we're going to be opening up another group.
Nice. Well, this is a good time to drop the link then. What's the site? Where's the contact info?
menweadmire.com.
menweadmire.com. Ooh, that could take on a lot of different meanings depending on who you're looking at. But ladies, this is not for us. Back off. This is immense.
We're going to do women we admire at some point because women have asked for that. But I get so many messages from women who say, can my husband be a part of this? Can my boyfriend? Can my brother? And that fires me up. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. And it is so there's a bunch of people doing men's communities, but you all have your different angle on it, right? You all have some are faith-based, some are like literally Navy SEALs who actually like bury the dudes in the ground and they have to pretend they're like, they go into body bags and have to pretend they're dead and all this shit. Like they do hardcore, like really like that kind of stuff. And then, we have your group, which sounds like somewhere in the middle of those two.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason I felt really called to do it. And I'm of the mindset of like, great, let's have as many men's groups as possible because there's a lot of different men and I hadn't seen my guy.
Right.
I hadn't seen my guy. I'd seen the guy who's like, you don't know how to make love to your wife. That's literally like one of the guys' ads. I'm like, jeez. And then another guy's like, if you don't make $1 million, you're a wimp. But I'm like, okay, where's my dude? Who's like, we want to do well in business. We want to do well in our relationships and we all want to do well in our lives, but also with a little bit of heart and some laughs and some connection. And that is what I've realized is the most powerful piece of it is connection and camaraderie. And we really need that as men. And somewhere along the line, we lose it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's a matter of like, you're not out there trying to connect with or bring in every single man out. You want the people who speak that language so that you can serve them. And that's it. And so that's pretty cool. I dig it, man. You're onto a lot of great things.
I dig you guys. I think I'm so thankful that, for everything you're doing.
Yeah. And we're gonna definitely, we got you back now, Alex. We got you back in our fold. We had some, I think none of us really escaped the last 2 years without going into some sort of cave of our own. Right.
True.
I was down there. I manage my like own depression and anxiety as it is because you go through what I've gone through. There's like the base that is with me at all times after going through what I went through. Right. So I'm already managing that. And then the 2 years hit. So I had, and other stuffs in my life too. So we all went through that. I think we all, if we could have a conversation with people who hate us and find out that they also went into their own cave and had their own dumpster fire period, whatever. I think so that doesn't make any of us unique or special. I think what separates us or defines us is how we come out of that, right? Or do we come out of that? Do we bring other people out of it with us or do we bring them down? Like, so those are the choices we have. So I love that you've coming back out of yours and, we'll both go down again, man. We're going to go down again. The fact that we came out, there's going to be something else that knocks us back down again. But what I love doing is connecting with people. I know no matter how many times they get knocked on their ass, they're going to eventually get back up. Right. And then you're going to bring other people back up with you. So thank you for being one of those people in our world.
Thank you. Thanks for flexing your freedom.
Yeah, we're flexing it, man. All different ways. It's time to go. It's time for Americans in particular to follow the leads of other countries and kind of stop this nonsense. Like hopefully all this nonsense has run its course and we've learned our lessons. Like, do you ever have, my parents didn't do this, but I saw other parents who would put their kids who couldn't get along in their get along shirt where it had like 2 sleeves and the kids had to like wear the same shirt, or
That's
something
so
like that.
funny.
But, don't make me turn this car around kind of thing. I think this country, I think we're getting it. I think we're in that moment now. So
I hope.
Buckle up. It's going to be a wild next couple of years.
I know.
All right. What's your website, Alex, besides menweadmire.com? And do you have, is that the site where they can find out how to get you to come speak, how to learn from you, how to get your book?
Yeah. So I'm Alex Weber, 1B in Weber, and that's on all the platforms and social media is just I'm Alex Weber. And men's group is Men We Admire. And, they all somehow come back to me. So if you're want the speaking or the men's group, please do reach out. And it also just means a ton to hear if you resonated with the conversation Barb and I are having.
Yeah, perfect. And don't worry, people, because we're in a stay in touch with Alex for the next year and make sure we get him to come to our next Great American Summit. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us again today.